What's Haney here for? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the February 21st, 2017 Rapid City City Council meeting. Roll call, please, for determination of quorum. Here. Thank you. Next, we will have the invocation. Tonight's invocator is Charlotte Becker. And welcome. You are welcome to participate, but not required.
To lead a city that is in a wonderful place and a community that cares about what's happening here. Thank you for the leaders that you've brought together and the abilities that you've given them to have the wisdom that they need to make the decisions that are necessary. So we ask tonight, Lord, that you would bless them, you would give them the wisdom they need, and that they would be able to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. And we ask that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. We got a motion by Wright, second by Doyle to approve the agenda as posted. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. Next on the agenda is the awards and recognition, and this will, I guess, be pushed off. The gentleman's moved to March 6th. The gentleman is out of town. Next, Chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2. Got a motion by Doyle, second by Solomon. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? We should be back in inside of 15 minutes. Thanks. Got a motion and a second, Scott and Doyle to come out of executive session. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. Mr. Wright?
This is for item number 2. I make a motion that we authorize the mayor to make an offer in grade 18 higher than step 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is our general public comment. General public comment is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of council members present. I have speaker request forms. First, for general public comment, I will invite Megan Holman, please. For the record, please state your name and address if you would.
My name is Megan Holman. I live at 811 North 7th Street, number 2 in Rapid City.
You may start, thanks.
So I know last week the council was deciding on the low-income housing project that will be starting at Dilger Avenue. And I would just like to encourage the council in the coming months, as new housing developments are being brought to your agenda, to keep in mind that our low-income population in Rapid City, particularly those who are disabled and receiving Social Security benefits, Section 8 vouchers only allow for a one-bedroom apartment to have a max of $635 in rent. And so it might be important to keep that in mind while planning sort of the income bracket that the council will be deciding these housing developments are for. I'm a case manager, and I know a lot of my clients, their average income is $1,000 or less per month, so $600 in rent, even if Section 8 is covering some of it, is a significant hardship, and it would not really help our homeless problem. It would just sort of create a lot of more middle-income housing, and we'd still be left with a large population of disabled people who can't afford housing and people who are homeless. So I would just encourage the council to keep that in mind as they're, again, considering any housing developments for low-income brackets in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next, I will ask to the podium Vaughn Vargas.
Hello. My name is Vaughn Vargas, and you need my address.
Is that Mike? Excuse me, can we make sure that the mic is on at the podium?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can now.
Good, okay. Vaughn Vargas, address 150 Patton Street, Rapid City, South Dakota, 57701. Today I'm speaking on behalf of the Community Advisory Committee, and we are in support of the Department of Justice body-worn camera initiative. So the Community Advisory Committee is an eclectic group of professionals, community leaders, and community members with the spirit to enhance the working relationship between law enforcement and the community at large. And our collective experience includes, but is not limited to, criminal justice, homeless service agencies, counselors, victims advocates, academia, and law enforcement. And we would like to support this initiative and the police department's ability to apply for the grant. The CAC has had and will continue to have thorough discussions on policies pertaining to body-worn cameras. And we recognize and appreciate the benefit of body-worn cameras for evidentiary purposes. We have seen a large number of domestic violence incidents being called forward, but there's very minimal prosecutions. We actually had a state's attorney and prosecutor come talk to us, and he spoke for a good hour and a half, telling us how difficult it is to get to prosecute domestic violence, and we feel that body-worn cameras can significantly increase that, or our ability to prosecute perpetrators. And that's one of the topics we've discussed. We also recognize the ability to use body-worn cameras for accountability purposes, and CAC members are required to participate on ride-alongs, where we learn of policing strategies, community challenges, and in-field officer community engagement. And although CAC members hear of officer complaints, we have yet to observe officer misconduct during our ride-along experience. Actually, we see officers going above and beyond their civic duty to serve our community. I do recognize the Hawthorne effect states that subjects change their behavior because they're under observation. And the chief of police is confident his officers continuously exemplify public service and leadership, and he's willing to validate that through validate that level of service by employing body-worn cameras. So what we would like to do is stand by that confidence and stand by the chief of police, Carl Jagaris' decision to apply for this grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll call Vince Vidal.
Vince Vidal, 223 Alta Vista, Rapid City, South Dakota 57701. And Mr. Vaughn didn't ask me to be here tonight, and neither did the chief. I came on my own accord because of something I experienced last week, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, and 2 years ago. Last week I was on jury duty. And in that trial, there were 3 police officers and 1 paramedic that gave testimony. And because of that testimony, we found someone guilty of simple assault, domestic abuse. But it was the professionalism of those police officers that brought us together in that jury room. 2 years ago, same thing. I could say that I've listened to hours of police testimony. It's not an easy job that they do. And if the chief wants it, as Mr. Vaughn suggested, we need it. I am in favor of it, and I urge you to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Next, we will open public comment on our non-public hearing items 3 through 54. And we have 1 speaker request form on item number 22, Rex Conrad.
Rex Conrad, 6940 Hardy Lane, 57702. And I'm here to speak on the increasing the salary range for the Public Works and Community Planning Director. I guess I just have some questions more than anything else. You know, if our projected income is below what we anticipated so far this year, how can we even consider doing this as far as increasing these salary ranges? The other question I got, I guess not a question, but we're functioning now, and I kind of question, are these positions really even needed if we're functioning as we are now? Me looking in from the outside, that's just a question I've got. And then why are we trying to hire from the outside instead of from the inside? I mean, as far as outside of Rapid City or within our, our own area here, it seems like this is coming up because we don't pay enough to get somebody from wherever, Atlanta, Georgia, or wherever, to come in and work for us. So why are we even going down this trail? And the other thing I'd just like to bring up is, the last mayor election, this outside hiring thing was actually used against the former mayor as far as hiring from the outside. I guess I got questions, but I don't feel I'm going to get them answered tonight. But I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Conrad. Next, we have on the consent calendar, we have items 3 through 54. Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to pull item number 37 and number 38, please.
Thanks. Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to pull items 9 and 10, and I could take them both together.
9 and 10. Jerry Wright. 22. John Roberts. 28. Jason Solomon.
23, please.
Okay, Chair would entertain a motion to approve all items other than 9, 10, 22, 23, 28, 37, and 38. Got a motion by Doyle, a second by Lorente. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 9. We'll go to Charity Doyle. Oh, excuse me. Darla Drew, sorry about that.
Want me to read them in? Or,
Please, the Public
Okay.
Works items, if you would.
item number, I'm not, oh, what? That's Charity.
Charity
I thought
changed
he
my
was
mind
saying-
again.
He does listen to me, though. Look at that. Item number 9. Mr. Chair, is to authorize Mayor and Finance Officer to sign agreement between City of Rapid City and the South Dakota Department of Transportation for improvements to the 6th Street at-grade railroad crossing. I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion by Doyle and a second by Lorente.
Charity, I wanted to take these together because they're both the same kind of. Okay, all right.
So you want this separate? You pull.
I'll just talk about this, and it really
Chair
applies to.
recognizes Alderwoman Drew.
Thank you. This applies to just both of these. Because if I am stopped for anything in the community, it's railroad crossings, and people are really concerned about why we don't fix them. They're ruining their cars, their tires, whatever. But this is something that has to be approached, and it's got to be an agreement between the City of Rapid City and South Dakota Department of Transportation. You know, there's train schedules involved. It's very complex to get these things fixed. So it takes a long time. It's going to happen. We're going to get them fixed. And yes, we have to drive across those same railroad crossings as you do. So we want to see them fixed as well. So that's coming. We just have to sign an agreement with the Department of Transportation. And that's all I have to say about either item, because they're both about fixing the railroad crossings. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other names in the queue, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Item number 10.
Item number 10, Mr. Chair, is to authorize Mayor and Finance Officer to sign agreement between City of Rapid City and South Dakota Department of Transportation for improvements to West Boulevard at-grade railroad crossing, and I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion, a second by Doyle and Wright. Nobody's in the queue. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Item number 22, we'll go to Alderman Roberts.
Authorize mayor to increase the starting salary range for the public works director and the community planning director position vacancies. And I'm not going to make a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Wright, second by Drew. Jerry Wright. Chair recognizes Jerry Wright.
Thank you. I pulled this question just to answer Mr. Conrad's questions as best I can. Number one, when we hire, the city is required, and we do by law, competitive hiring, and we don't control who we hire by choice, by geography. We try to hire the most qualified individual that applies for the job, that meets our expectations. And sometimes we don't get applications from people in Rapid City because they don't want the job, or they may, who knows where they come from. And to pay the price, what we have to pay, it's a very competitive world out there, and these people that are doing these jobs expect and do get very good salaries. And in order for us to get someone who's qualified to run these departments, we have to match that or meet that to get them in. So that's behind it. There's no wish to hire people out of town or to not hire someone locally. If we get a very qualified individual that lives here, they're going to have every bit of chance of getting the job. So just to clarify that, and we're open door public legal hiring agency. We do a good job. Thank you.
Excuse me. Chair recognizes Alderwoman Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd also like to comment on this as well, because one of the other questions that he had was if it's being handled today, why are we even trying to fill these positions? Personally, I'd like to thank, and also on behalf of the community, I'd like to thank Mr. Dale Tack, who's filling in for this, actually both positions. So we have one man who's doing his full-time job, as well as trying to fill in both of these jobs. And he has been doing this for over a year as we've been trying to find candidates to fill these two positions. And, I don't want Dale, and I hope all the paramedics are around, I don't want Dale to fall over from a heart attack. I don't want him to fall over from being stressed out, but this man is about at the end of his rope here because he has had to defend both departments, he's had to research, and he's had to answer all of our questions as well as the community questions. So in my opinion, I can't speak for anybody else, but we need both of these department director positions filled. So just wanted to answer that as well. And Dale, thank you very much for continuing to fill in until we get these filled.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. No other names in the queue. Alderman Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. The only reason that I queued in, I didn't make the legal and finance meeting last Wednesday, or I wouldn't have spoke because I'm the chair. But the only issue I have with this right now is the timing on this. I pulled item 28, which is the sales tax, and for the last half of 2016, we were down 5 of the 6 months. And I really don't think right now is the appropriate time to be adding salaries and adding, especially to the starting wages of these positions. It's unfortunate we haven't found the perfect candidate yet. In business, a lot of times you don't find the perfect candidate. And unfortunately, I can't vote for this, for either one of these tonight, because I think the timing is just off on it. And until we know what next year is going to bring on sales tax, I think we're kind of putting the horse in front of the cart. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since you referenced both of them, because we're talking about where we're at as far as our revenue sources go, and for those of us that have been in business or are in business, we know that economic indicators are derived from many different reasons and sources, and there isn't a crystal ball. Some years are higher than others, sometimes they average, and sometimes they drop, and economic indicators can be everything from a 75th Sturgis motorcycle rally to a presidential election. There's a lot of things that create either a slower economic driver or something that speeds up, but it happens, and so there's a balance that happens as well when you look over the course of many years and your average out than just looking at 1 year and defining that that's a bad year and we're going to have bad years from this time forward. So what this is doing on item number 22 is it has nothing to do with our sales tax performance. It has everything to do with what we need as a city of Rapid City in order to run this city. One of the biggest businesses in the community that we have is the city of Rapid City. And with that, we also have to have the leaderships and the CEOs of those leaderships of those departments to manage. And they manage more than just a couple of people. They manage the entire city and its works, whether it's public works or it's planning. And that is critical and crucial to all of us in the community. So this is a job, it's a position, it's requiring experience, it's requiring a tremendous amount of education, and what we'd like to do is bring somebody in that has got also outside experience, if that happens, if it's the right candidate, that can teach us new things, how we can continue to grow and be a bigger and better community from within our public works and our planning. And those are two key top dog jobs that we have in our city. So it is important that we find the right people, and if we're not getting qualified, then we need to expand our decision in order to find the qualified sources, get them in here, and get this city ticking again like it should, as smoothly and well-oiled as our works departments and our planning does. So I can definitely support that we need to continue to provide the range needed to get the right candidates into the position for Rapid City.
Chair recognizes Alderman Wright.
Alderman Scott did a great job, Alderwoman Scott did a great job in summarizing the work that Dale has done. Public Works Department has millions and millions of dollars of assets that they're responsible to manage. Water, wastewater, streets, water plants, wastewater plants, solid waste. And that is a position we absolutely need to fill. Planning is in a similar situation. But if we fail to do it, we're not getting the results we need in managing our assets. And there's such a huge amount of money involved. To not do it simply because we're down a little bit in sales tax would be foolish. We can make it up somewhere else for sure on sales tax. Because we do not get the management we need for the future in our existing assets, we would prove in a nickel's time we're penny wise and a pound foolish, without a doubt in my mind. So we must proceed, we must get this position filled, and also give Dale some relief. So I support this, and sales tax for short, we'll make it up somewhere else. Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor. Alderman Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair. I was hoping Mr. Barbier would be here still, but I believe he has left, or at least it appears that he has. I honestly, and I can't remember if this was on our legal and finance agenda, but I had hoped to get more information, honestly, because I'd like to know what the drivers are right now and hear from our human resources about what he believes is just a matter of time and we're going to get the right candidates in the salary ranges that we're offering, or is this truly the drivers that are keeping us from getting the type of candidates that we're hoping to attract for this position? And the other thing that I would like to know is, and I don't know if my colleagues do as well, but I'd like to know what communities in our region, in the Midwest, the upper Midwest, communities around the size of ours, what range are these positions in those particular communities? So that information would be, I think, helpful as well, maybe for some of us who are kind of on the edge with this. So just some comments of mine to think about, and I would support a continuation just to get more information. I don't think it hurts to wait a little bit to make sure that we make the right decision. But if I can, Chair, I'd like to ask Mr. Lundin a question, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. Joel, do you have some information that
I do. I've been sitting in on a lot of and participating in the interview process. So I've seen the candidates that have come in, and they've all been good people. And for example, a lot of the planning candidates, if we were trying to replace our current planning manager, Vicki Fisher, they'd probably be good candidates for that job. But most of them are coming from situations where they haven't supervised departments of this size, or we're getting people that have supervised 3, 4, 5 people. Just not really anybody that has stood out and said, yeah, we really want to hire this person. As far as our salaries, I can't say that they're way out of line, but we all in the United States like to talk about the market. Well, the market is telling us clearly that what we're offering isn't attracting what we want. So we frankly had this discussion on the interview panel. We can keep putting this out and getting the same people over, or the same type of people over and over again, or we can just hire the best person that's come in so far, and basically it was up to the mayor at that point. It's ultimately his decision to decide, was there somebody that we had interviewed that he felt comfortable with, and if he didn't, then we needed to go back and do something different. So, really the one thing you can do different and to try to affect a change is the salary. Can't change the community, can't change other things, but we could change the salary. So that was the most obvious way to change the offer to make it more attractive and try to get a more attractive candidate to apply for the job. Again, if you look at some of the comparable communities, you would probably find a lot would be similar in price, although we're probably larger than a lot of them. But again, unless you find somebody that's looking to move to Rapid City for a particular reason, you're going to have to be a little better than average in order to attract somebody to leave their current position and decide to pick up and move their family here. And that's where I think we're struggling. I can't answer whether this is enough. I think it's a start. hopefully it will. I don't know if you read the newspaper article, but if you want to compare to another community, Sioux Falls, although they are larger than us, but yeah, I mean, they're still, should their salaries be 30,000 more than ours? I mean, I don't think anybody would disagree that, yeah, you should make more in Sioux Falls, but should it be $30,000 more? So yeah, I mean, that's tough to compete with.
It is twice as large, but not that you would base it on that. But I guess my other concern, and maybe just question for us to think about here on the council, whether we delay this or not, why not broaden the range rather than increase the base and do it that way? I mean, ultimately, if we get somebody in here that really is qualified and you're on this committee, and $103,000 might get this person, probably would get this person. If we move the base above that, why would we do that? Why not just leave the base at 96, increase the cap to 125, and then have the ability to stay within any of that range? It's just a question. It might be semantic to ask that question, but that was one of the things I had thought about. But
well, I think there's something psychological about a starting salary over 100 when people look at it, but you know, the idea is to increase the range to a point that it attracts people that haven't been applying otherwise. So
agreed.
You know, they're probably, if we get the right candidate, they're probably not going to be at 103 either. They're probably going to be more towards the high end of the range.
Okay.
So,
all right. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Joe. You were in the queue. Are you good now? All right. Chair will recognize Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. So what we are experiencing at the city level is something that businesses experience in our region all the time, and that is it's not enough qualified talent for some of these kinds of positions, and so it is really difficult to recruit for certain kinds of positions. For example, I'm not qualified to be the director of public works. Of course, I apparently could sit up here and make decisions for them, but it takes a high level of expertise to do those kinds of jobs. And so unless you have a connection to the Black Hills region, it is our biggest challenge to show people that, hey, this is an amazing place to live. Of course, there are some of us who don't want anybody to know about us and make us stay a secret, but that's a problem because we want the best talent possible for our city positions, especially director positions of public works and planning. Those are critical, and I do not want to settle. And like Mr. Lundin, I sat in on the interviews for these past positions for planning directors and public works. Fine people, but not the right people. Rapid City deserves the best people possible working for our city. I think for that kind of price range, that's what they should expect. And if we have to lift it up a little bit to at least encourage more applicants, so be it. We also have to tell the story of Rapid City about how great of a place this is to live. We believe it. It's a great place to start a business, raise a family, enjoy the good life as we've enjoyed these nice days lately before the snow comes. But it's a great place. So this is nothing new. We're debating this in a public forum, but businesses in our communities, especially large employers, are dealing with this all of the time. And then the key is you get what you pay for. And so at director level positions, it does look like everything's running smoothly, but trust me, it's not just Dale that carries the brunt, it's Public Works and Planning Department as well. There are employees in those teams that carry the load. Dale does, but the rest of those teams do too, and they deserve our appreciation as well. But for us to get the best people possible, we're going to have to look at this. This is part of economic development, and this is something our entire community struggles with, not just the city, but the city is a big part of this. And so this is an investment, and I know that I'm in support of this because of what I want to see, and I want to see the best talent possible for Rapid City. And I will yield.
Chair recognizes Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would just like to also just add in the one other thing that hasn't been said is that some of the discussion up here is acting as if this is a knee-jerk reaction that we haven't been looking for these directors for a while. We've already cast out twice and had 2 rounds of trying to get a planning director. So this is not a overnight decision of let's increase the wages. We've already been trying to fill this position for 2 rounds, and it's been difficult trying to get the talent that, frankly, Brett Limbaugh started when he was here, and he started Rapid City on that really organized, strategic, steady growth, and we need someone that can continue and carry that weight. And I do know that the planning department, as well as probably the public works department, they're kind of holding on working with the attorney's office to bring forth some ordinances and the legal stuff that needs to come to council, because they're waiting to find out what the director wants to do or what direction that director wants to take. So it really is keeping us in a holding pattern right now until we can fill these positions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. No other lights in the queue. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Item number 23, Alderman Roberts. Got a motion and a second to approve. Chair recognizes Alderman Solomon, and I will say that we now have the 5-minute clock working.
This should not take long. I have a question for the chief, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure, you're welcome.
Chief, I'm happy to support this. My question for you is more behind the scenes. Do we have the server storage to handle the capacity that this new influx of videos will bring us, and what kind of length of time will we archive these videos?
Okay, we intend to have outside storage, so we don't intend to use the city servers. That will be part of the contract with the technology provider that we end up going with. That's become typical with other police agencies throughout the country. The storage is become problematic when you try to maintain it yourself. As far as retention, that'll be part of the policy development, but we'll be in a position that we'll have to have a retention period so that we don't retain everything forever, because when you do that, again, your external storage reaches beyond capacity very quickly. But a standard mark is 30 days to hold everything, and then if an arrest is made or other criteria are met, then you will hold them until the end of the prosecution is completed. So in summary, everything will be stored for a reasonable period of time to allow citizens that might have a complaint or a concern about an incident, or the state's attorney's office needs clarification on an issue. As long as they let us know within a 30-day window, we'll be able to maintain it for a longer period of time.
And are you given, since this is a grant, are you given like federal guidelines as far as the security of offsite storage?
We will be getting technical assistance from the Department of Justice and criteria to be included in our RFP when we seek a vendor.
Okay. I'll yield the floor. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair recognizes Alderwoman Drew.
Oh, thank you. I just have a question here on the funding, Chief Jaggeris. Could I ask him the question, please? So I'm reading about the funding here, and it says that the city or county are each responsible for 1/4 of the funding, or $200,000 each. Is that total, or $200,000 for each camera, or what is? Could you just clear that up for me?
The total estimated cost, and this is preliminary, but the total estimated cost for the entire project is approximately $800,000 for a 2-year period of service. We anticipate, if we're successful with the grant, that the Department of Justice will pay up to 50% of it, so up to $400,000.
Okay.
And then we're working on an agreement between the city and county to split the remaining costs between the city and the county, and that's very similar to how we acquired our in-car camera systems that we acquired several years ago. We did it jointly with the Sheriff's Office to be more efficient in our costs, and we also received a grant at that time to supplement the expense.
So the body cameras are to be shared between your two, the Rapid City Police and the Sheriff's Department?
The contract will be a shared contract, but we'll have individual units that will go to each officer or deputy.
So they will be between both groups, though?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I yield.
don't know which button, and think I fly airplanes. Chair recognizes Steve Lorente.
Thank you, Chair. And if I may, I'd like to ask the police chief a question, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Chief, along those lines, do you have a grasp of what the annual cost will be after the grant is to maintain, for maintenance, for upkeep, the contract with the technology company? Do we have any grasp of what that cost is going to be after the grant?
We do. We would provide a preliminary estimate of approximately $80,000 for the city to continue to maintain it, at least for a period of several years. So once we get over the upfront costs, it will reduce.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve. No other names are in the queue. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Alderman Roberts, we'll go to item number 28, please.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. Acknowledge December 2016 sales tax report, and I will make a motion to acknowledge this. And can I hold the floor for just 1 second?
Got a motion by Roberts to acknowledge, second by Solomon. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. I just pulled this because I just wanted the people, constituents, citizens to know that the sales tax was down, and you know, we budget typically 2% year over year, and our sales tax in 2016 came in at 0.61%, so we are down for last year. And I know that I'm not trying to make people worry. I'm hoping that it comes back right away. But if you look at the trends over the last 4 years or so, we have had very few months that have ever been down, and we sure as heck haven't strung 5 months to get, or roughly 5 out of 6 months. So, you know, there's a lot of factors in the economy in South Dakota that I think are driving this, and I'm just hoping that we start coming back up this year. So, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Roberts. We'll go to Alderwoman Drew.
Just a reminder to the council that, you know, Amazon and other online services are making headway in charging sales tax. That's been a big competition for our local sales tax, and I think that we might see a change in our income with these changing demographics of sales tax by online services. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to acknowledge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We'll go to Alderwoman Scott for items number 37 and 38.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 37 is to deny a request by Sylvia Conrad for resolution number 2017-008, a resolution for de-annexation for property generally described as being located in the southwest of the current terminus of Sundevi Lane. And I'd like to make a motion to continue to the April 17th, 2017 City Council per the applicant's request.
Second. Got a motion in 8 seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Item 38, please.
Thank you. Item number 38 is to approve a request by KTM Design Solutions Incorporated for Black Hills Capital LLC for resolution number 2017-009, a petition of annexation for property generally described as being located in the southeast quadrant of East St. Patrick Street and South Valley Drive intersection. I'd like to make a motion to continue to the March 6, 2017 City Council meeting per the applicant's request.
Second. Got a motion and a second by Alderman Wright to continue. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Now we will go to we will open public comment for items 49 through 54. I have no speaker request forms here, so we will close public comment, and I will go to Alderwoman Scott to read the ordinance, please.
Item number 49 is the first reading of ordinance number 6156, an ordinance repealing chapter 1.08 of Rapid City Municipal Code relating to wards and precincts and adopting a new revised chapter 1.08 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. Make a motion to approve.
Second. Got a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Item number 50, please.
Item number 50 is a second reading and recommendation of ordinance number 6153, an ordinance to amend provisions concerning permitting for parades and special events by amending Chapter 12.20 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second to approve item number 50. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same as sign. Item 51.
Item number 51 is a first reading of ordinance number 6157, an ordinance adopting the appearance of fairness doctrine for a quasi-judicial proceedings by adding section 2.04.130 to the Rapid City Municipal Code. I make a motion to deny.
Got a motion and a second to deny, second by Laurenti. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same as sign. We have one no. Alderman Roberts. Alderman Roberts, I apologize. I think you were supposed to read those, so I'll go to 52 with you if that's okay. So.
Thank you. A request by KTM Design Solutions Incorporated for Black Hills Capital LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots A and B of Johnson Ranch subdivision, generally described as being located southeast in the quadrant of East St. Patrick Street and South Valley Drive intersection. And I move this to the March 6, 2017 City Council meeting per the applicant's request.
Got a motion by Roberts, a second by Wright to continue this item. And you're not in the queue, are you? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same as sign. 53.
A request by KTM Design Solutions for F&D Schultz Limited Partnership for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 and 2 of the Connector West subdivision, generally described as being located in the northwest corner of Mount Rushmore Road and Catron Boulevard. And I move this to March 6th to South. This one's okay? I thought you said this one too. Okay. Anyway, I move to approve with stipulations. How about that?
Good. We got a motion by Roberts, a second by Laurenti to approve item 53 with stipulations. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same as sign. Item 54.
That's Darla, Public Works.
We'll go to Alderwoman Doyle for item 54.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 54 is appeal of denial to request from KTM Design Solutions for an exception to waive the requirements for subdivision improvements on South Valley Drive. Make a motion to move this to the March 6th council meeting.
Got a motion by Doyle, second by Wright to continue to March, item number 54. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same as sign. Thank you. Next, we will open public hearings for items 55 through 60. There's no one here, so we will close same public hearing. And Chair will entertain a motion for these as a group. 55 through 59? Through 60, excuse me. I think we had a motion by Roberts. I'll take a second from Doyle to approve 55 through 60. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same as sign. And we'll go to Tracy for item 61, bills, please.
There are no additions to the bill list, so the total is $5,134,135.57.
Got a motion by Laurenti, second by Solomon to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same as sign. Motion to adjourn. Laurenti and Scott, motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.